This video is sponsored by Recharge. More about them later on. In February of 2019, Polestar showed us their very first fully electric car, the Polestar 2. But that is, believe it or not, almost 4 years ago. Yes, guys, next month, 4 years ago since Polestar revealed that car. So I think it's time for a facelift in the very near future. And the other day I was talking to my friend Volvo Christian on Instagram. You guys, if you follow Volvo and Polestar, you may know him. If not, check the description box down below. He has an awesome page on Instagram where he includes Volvos and Polestars and is one of the authorities, in my opinion, on these two brands. So we were sitting down having a hamburger actually, and we're talking like, what do we think are most certainly to come with the facelift? What are our wishes? And what do you think are going to be changed with the facelifted version? So that's what we're going to cover in today's video. But you may be thinking to yourself, wait a minute, Chris, February 2019, are you sure that date is correct? And thinking that you've only seen the Polestar 2 on the road for a couple of years. That is a pretty new car, right? Well, you're not mistaken, because it may have been revealed to the public in February of 2019, but the first cars didn't actually start production before March 2020. And customers didn't actually take delivery before about July 2020. So the Polestar 2 hasn't been on the road for more than about 2.5 years. And not 4. But since it was revealed 4 years ago, I do think it is mature for a redesign, a facelift in the near future. But I don't think it's going to take about a year and a half before the car is revealed till customers, take delivery. I think that time's going to be much shorter. So my hypothesis is that they're going to show us the facelifted version with all of its updates later this year. The second half of 2023, or maybe to be more specific, I think Q4, October, maybe November of 2023. And then customers will be able to take delivery in the summer of 2024. So we're still about a year and a half away, which is, well, a bit of time, but that's been the trend lately. Polestar showed the Polestar 3 in October, and don't expect to take or start delivering cars before a year or maybe even a year later. And Volvo with their EX90, that wait time is about 1.5 years. They showed the car in November. I ordered one the day after from my dealer, and I have delivery like Q2 2024, something crazy like that. But it's still a bit away, but we do have some concrete facts that I'm going to talk to you guys in a second, which is really exciting. It's almost 100% certain at this time. But before we do that, I just want to thank today's video sponsor, Recharge. Recharge is the largest charging company, provider of lightning fast and rapid charging in the Nordic countries, Norway, Sweden, and Finland. And we'll also be opening chargers in Denmark in the near future. In all of these countries, they have more than 4,000 charging points and like 2,500 DC fast chargers. It's just insane. They are by far the largest provider of charging in the Nordic countries. So if you want to support the channel, go to the link down below and just find out where your closest Recharge charger is. And well, if you want to check it out, check it out. Since the first customers took delivery of their Polestar 2 in the summer of 2020, we have had new models added to the range as well as updates to those models. So the first model available, the first model year, was the long range dual motor with dual electric motors, all-wheel drive, 408 horsepower, and a usable battery capacity of 75 kilowatt hours. That car had a WLTP rated range of 470 kilometers. Then in 2021, we got the long range single motor with that same, 75 kilowatt hour usable battery capacity, this time with a single electric motor on the front axle, so front wheel drive, and 231 horsepower. This car had a WLTP rated range of 544 kilometers. And then later on that year, we got the standard range single motor with a usable battery capacity of 61 kilowatt hours, front wheel drive, 224 horsepower, and a WLTP rated range of 444 kilometers. But ever since, there have been, software updates and also battery pack updates. So the long range dual motor now in 2023 has a WLTP rated range of 487 kilometers, so a little more. And then we have the long range single motor now has a WLTP rated range of 551 kilometers. But the biggest change is the standard range single motor that gets a battery capacity bump from 61 kilowatt hours usable capacity to 67 kilowatt hours usable capacity, and now gets a WLTP rated range of 478 kilometers. And now for the facelifted version, and I think this is very exciting, and these numbers are at this point in time almost 100% certain because they are not taken out of thin air. They are actually based on the 2024 Volvo XC40 and C40 that was revealed, just a few weeks ago. And you may know that the Polestar 2 and that car is basically the same car underneath, same drivetrain, same battery packs, and since launch they have been, been available to the public in the exact same configurations, just with a different body type. And the 2024 Volvo XC40 and C40, which will start production in the summer of 2023, and then customers will take delivery of those cars later on in about a year. Yeah, it's about a year wait time is what Volvo have said. Is very interesting because if we take those numbers and we translate them to the Polestar 2 and the numbers, we get this. So we have a standard range single motor with now having rear wheel drive, not front wheel drive. That is correct, guys. Volvo are switching from front drive to rear wheel drive in the single motor versions, and I think Polestar is going to do the same. Why not? So rear electric motor, 238 horsepower, and a usable battery capacity of 70 kilowatt hours, and also a peak charging speed of 150 kilowatts. Then we have the long range single motor, also rear wheel drive, 252 horsepower, and a usable battery capacity of 78 kilowatt hours. And then we have the long range dual motor, now with also all wheel drive, the same 78 kilowatt hour usable battery capacity, but this time a rear electric motor with 249 horsepower and a front electric motor with 159 horsepower, giving this car a rear drive bias. The old car had similar motors, exact the same motors on the front and rear axle, 204 horsepower, giving that car, kind of an understeery front wheel drive driving experience. But now with a lot more horsepower, 90 horsepower more on the rear axle, this is going to be a very different car dynamically. And the last thing about these big battery pack versions, these 78 kilowatt hour usable battery capacity versions, they get a charging speed bump to 200 kilowatts. Then we have the updated range numbers, and this is pretty interesting because what I've done here is that I've taken the range bump that the XC40 got with the old versus new battery packs. So these numbers may be not 100% accurate. We may get a little bit less range or a little bit more range, but I think we're pretty much there, plus minus 10 kilometers. So starting with the standard range single motor, I think the new version is going to get a 531 kilometer range from the WLTP. Then we have the long range single motor, which I think is going to get 611 kilometers, and then the long range dual motor with 565 kilometers of range. So a pretty significant update across the board, where the least range version getting well above 500 kilometers and the best version getting more than 600 kilometers of range. Then we have the updates I personally think that Polestar are going to make to the facelifted version, and this is based on where they're moving forward as the company, based on the new tech they've developed lately, and also based on customer feedback. So first off, I think the Polestar 2 is going to get an updated and new front fascia, but not the way you may think. I think it's going to keep those Thor's Hammer LED lights. Even though the new Polestars have moved to that dual blade design, I think this is okay being the first fully electric model and this only being a facelift. And I think the design still works, is good looking, and is close enough to that dual blade design. But where I think they're going to make the biggest difference is in the front grille section. So this grille now works as a grille with radiators behind it. I think they're going to move that down low in the bumper, moving the cooling and the radiators and where that airflow goes, and this is going to free up space in that front grille area. And I think they're going to, as closely as possible, make it similar to the front wing we see in that Polestar 3, which improves aerodynamics. And I think this is possible, well, as I said, by moving those radiators down, and also just the way it looks and the way that front area is designed, because the front hood actually doesn't start before about 10 or 12 centimeters behind that grille. And that means they can, just change that insert, and with a new front hood, this is going to be really easy to implement without too many changes. You don't have to do anything structural, and I think it's going to be simple enough, but I think we're going to get a range improvement, which may be quite significant, I'm hoping. I think we're going to get an updated infotainment system. So I think we're going to keep the screens and the hardware. So we're still going to keep that driver's display at 13 inches and also that central display at 11 inches. But I think we're going to get an overhaul in the software, making it look more similar in function and also in style and design as what we see in the Polestar 3. Lastly, and this is a big one, I think we're going to get a redesigned center console. Since day one, me and everybody else who has driven or owned a Polestar 2 has, well, hated the center console because not only is it big and cumbersome and makes the cabin feel cramped, it also takes away a little bit of legroom. It's also super impractical. I mean, the cup holder situation is just pathetic. Storage is pathetic. And if we look to its corporate cousin or its twin, that Volvo XC40 or Volvo C40, it has a completely different center console design, which is much more practical, where you have a lot more storage, it's a lot lower, less massive, and you also have dual cup holders. So I think this is going to be a needed change that is going to be made by them very easily and not with too much changes. Then lastly, we have my wish list, which are changes that, well, may be far from realistic. And again, a huge thanks to Volvo Christian for helping me make this video. A lot of information I have provided in this video is from him. And also some of the viewpoints in the wish list are also his viewpoints. And we don't always see eye to eye. So again, huge thanks to him. He's a real resource when it comes to Volvo and Polestar. Check his link in the description box down below to his Instagram. So first off is a point that we both agree on, and that is a better stereo, or at least an option for a stereo that sits above the Harman Kardon system. And the Harman Kardon system in of itself is not a bad system. It's actually a very good system. It's 600 watts and offers 13 speakers. But me personally, I think it's a little bit lacking, especially compared to the Bowers & Wilkins upgrades you get in the bigger Volvos and now also the Polestar 3 that I haven't heard, but is supposedly even better than what we get in the top tier Volvo, which is one of the best sound systems ever. Watch any review that's done with instrumented testing. It's just mind-blowing how good that sound system is. So the discrepancy between that system and the Harman Kardon system here is really, really big. And in my opinion, the biggest difference is in the bass frequency, because this car, the Polestar 2 with the Harman Kardon upgraded sound system, has two subwoofers, but it doesn't have traditional bass woofers which sit between the subwoofers and the mid-range. So in my opinion, that is lacking. You're getting a lot of those low frequencies. So it's kind of like listening to music with a home theater where, it sounds okay, but it doesn't sound correct. So I would gladly pay, a little bit more to get a better sound system, if that's even possible. Then we have the next point, better seats. And this is basically only Christian's opinion, because I actually think that the Polestar 2 has one of the best seats in the business. But it does make a valid point, because better seats can be found in the SPA platform cars. So XC90, S90, XC60, S60. Those seats are even better than what you get here. And Christian's opinion is that the seats in the Polestar 2 and also the Volvo XC40, C40 aren't as good. And I do agree, but I don't think there is too much of a difference. But better seats is on the wish list here. My next point here on the wish list is a point that both me and Christian share, and that is better noise insulation, better sound deadening in the Polestar 2, because the Polestar 2, especially on the motorway, is not a quiet car. I mean, it's not the worst, but if you compare it to something like a Kia EV6, Hyundai Ioniq 5, Mustang Mach-E, or even an EQA from Mercedes, there's a big difference in sound insulation, and the Polestar 2 alongside the Tesla Model 3 are worst in class. The performance pack upgrade in the Polestar 2 is a pricey upgrade, but also a substantial one. So first off, you're getting a power upgrade from 408 to 476 horsepower. That drops the 0 to 100 km/h time from 4.7 to 4.4 seconds. You're also getting Brembo brakes, you're getting, special performance wheels and tires, as long as yellow or gold seatbelts, and lastly, you're also getting Öhlins adaptable dampers, which are one of the best dampers in the business, basically racing dampers. But what I don't like about them is it gives the car, even in the softest setting, a stiffer ride than the normal setup. But also these adjustable dampers are manually adjustable, where you have to climb under the car, you have to, lift the car up on a lift or something, and then you have to start removing panels. I'm wishing for electronically adjustable dampers from the interior with a wider range. If the car could get that, I could actually recommend this performance pack, but at this point in time, I don't think it's worth the money, because I think the normal car is better to drive actually. And with the performance pack, I'm also wishing for a bigger power bump, finally giving the Polestar 2 a sub 4-second 0 to 100 km/h time to make it more competitive with the Tesla Model 3 performance. Then lastly, on my wish list, which is probably the least likely, I'm wishing for a wagon body shape. How cool would that be? Taking the Polestar 2, making it into a wagon, that would be the coolest car. But I do understand that this car is probably going to eat into C40 and XC40 sales. But come on, Polestar, I know you're closely related and some of the same people work at both companies, but please give us a wagon. And with that wagon, lastly, I want a cross-country variant, which I think is even less likely, because that is basically, an XC40 with a longer wheelbase and a bigger trunk. But just imagine how cool that would be. So guys, I really do hope you enjoy this facelifted, updated version, speculation video version, with also this wish list. And let me know, what are the updates that I missed you think are going to be present on the facelifted version of the Polestar 2, and also what is on your wish list. So guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please drop me a thumbs up down below, and for more car content, as always, please subscribe. See you guys later, and goodbye.